I used to believe that after 15 years of marriage, you know everything about the person sleeping next to you. Their habits, their secrets, their soul. But I was wrong. Because one Tuesday afternoon, while searching for a receipt in her purse, I found something that didn't belong. A small velvet box. I thought, maybe it's a surprise gift. Maybe she's planning something for our anniversary, even though it's still 2 months away. But when I opened it, my world cracked. It was a wedding ring, not mine. And inside, engraved in clean, perfect script, were the words, "Forever yours, Daniel." My name isn't Daniel. I sat there on the edge of the bed, that box in my hand, my fingers trembling. The same fingers that had once slid our wedding ring onto hers at the altar. I couldn't breathe. My mind raced through possibilities. None of them made sense. Was she cheating? Was she married to someone else? Was I the other man in her life all along? For a few minutes, I just stared at it, hoping it would dissolve into nothing. That this was some kind of misunderstanding. That the universe wasn't playing this kind of cruel joke on me. But the weight of the ring in my palm said otherwise. I wanted to confront her that moment. Scream. Demand answers. But instead, I put the ring back into the box, closed it, slid it exactly where I found it in her purse. And I waited, because I needed to know the truth all of it. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just infidelity. This felt like my entire life had been a lie. And I had no idea how deep that lie went. My name is Adiel. I'm 41 years old, a high school chemistry teacher by profession, and a father to 2 wonderful kids, Zion and Monor. And for the past 15 years, I believed I was also a happily married man. Her name is Sabine. She was the kind of woman who walked into a room and lit it up not because she was loud or attention-seeking, but because she had a warmth that drew people in. Her laugh, her kindness, even her silence had a certain gravity to it. We met in university. I was the quiet one, buried in textbooks and chemistry formulas. She was studying literature, always scribbling poetry in the margins of her notebook, quoting Faiz and Parveen Shakir like they were her closest friends. Our worlds couldn't have been more different. But somehow, we collided. We got married young straight out of college. We didn't have much. A tiny rented flat, 2 mismatched chairs, a mattress on the floor, and a kettle that made more noise than tea. But we were in love. Real love. Or at least, that's what I believed. We built our life slowly, brick by brick, year after year. She stood beside me through everything when my father passed away, when I was jobless for 8 months, when I almost gave up on teaching because of the constant stress. She was there, and I worshipped her. She gave up her dreams of becoming a published writer to raise our kids. She never complained, never threw it in my face. Not once. She handled everything with such grace even when Manor was born premature and we spent sleepless nights at the hospital. She held me up when I should have been the one holding her. Our marriage wasn't perfect, we fought, like all couples do. About the bills, the in-laws who forgot to pick up milk. But underneath all that noise was always love. At least from my side. I never imagined she could hide something from me. Not like this. Not something that would shake the foundation of everything we built together. I used to think we were a team, that we knew each other better than we knew ourselves. But now, every memory plays in my mind like a movie I've seen 100 times, and suddenly I'm spotting things I never noticed before. Her long phone calls that ended abruptly when I entered the room. Her new writing group that met twice a week, always conveniently when I was on late duty at school. The way she started wearing perfume again, the kind she used to wear when we were dating. And I kept telling myself she's just reclaiming herself. After years of being mom and wife, she's just being Sabine again. I never imagined that being Sabine might mean being someone I didn't recognize anymore. Someone who wore another man's ring in her purse. After I found the ring, everything changed even though I pretended it hadn't. I didn't confront her right away. I told myself I needed more evidence, more answers. Because what if there was some logical explanation? What if I accused her of something terrible, and it turned out I was wrong? But deep down, I knew. It wasn't just the ring. It was everything that had been piling up slowly over the last few months. The late-night writing sessions that always ended with her coming home slightly breathless, her cheeks flushed. The locked phone. The sudden interest in buying expensive lingerie she'd never worn for me. And yet, every morning, she kissed me on the cheek like nothing had changed. That weekend, I started noticing things I'd never paid attention to before. Her phone would buzz, and she'd glance at it quickly, her expression unreadable, before sliding it face down on the table. She'd excuse herself to the bathroom during dinner and stay there for longer than necessary. One night, I made a decision. I waited until she fell asleep beside me, her back turned, her breathing soft and even. Then I reached over quietly, slowly, and picked up her phone from the nightstand. Locked. Of course. But the real shock wasn't the password, it was that she'd changed it. We'd always had access to each other's phones. It wasn't a written rule or anything. We just never had secrets. Or so I thought. I put it back and stared at the ceiling for the rest of the night, the questions buzzing in my mind louder than the fan above us. Who was Daniel? Why was she wearing a second ring engraved with his name? And why did she look so happy lately while I felt like I was falling apart? The following day, I followed her. It sounds crazy, I know. But when your reality starts crumbling, you cling to whatever control you have left. Even if that means sitting in your car, a street away from a bookstore cafe, watching your wife through the window. She walked in, wearing the cream-colored shawl I'd bought her last Eid. She wasn't alone. There was a man already waiting for her. Tall, well-dressed, with neatly combed hair, and the kind of smile you'd expect from someone meeting an old flame. They didn't hug. No physical contact. But they didn't need to. The way she looked at him, it was enough. She smiled in that quiet, familiar way. The way she used to smile at me when I made her tea just right. They talked for almost an hour. I couldn't hear anything, but I didn't need to. Her expressions told me more than words ever could. She laughed. She touched her hair the way she does when she's nervous and excited at the same time. And when he handed her a small package something, wrapped in red tissue, held it like it was sacred. I didn't get out of the car. I didn't storm in. I just sat there, frozen, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Because I finally understood one thing. Whoever Daniel was, he wasn't just someone. He was someone important. And I had no idea how long he'd been in her life. I spent the next few days pretending to be normal. Pretending I hadn't seen her with him. Pretending I didn't know about the ring. Pretending I was still her husband, not some background character in a love story I was never meant to be part of. But inside, I was screaming. Every moment I spent with her felt like acting in a play I hadn't auditioned for. I'd wake up and look at her sleeping beside me, peaceful, Kaufmann wonder. How long has she been lying to me? Was it weeks? Months? Years? And who was Daniel? An old lover? A new one? Someone she met in that so-called writing circle? Or worse, someone she never really let go of? The questions never stopped. I kept telling myself I needed to confront her. Demand the truth. But every time I looked into her eyes, I froze. Because I was afraid of what she'd say. Afraid that hearing it out loud would destroy me more than the silence already had. One evening, while the kids were asleep, I finally cracked. She was in the kitchen, humming to herself, stirring something on the stove, like everything was fine. Like the walls weren't closing in on me. "Sabine," I said. My voice sounded distant, even to me. "Can I ask you something?" She turned to me, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Of course," she smiled. "What's up?" I hesitated. "Have you been happy lately?" She looked at me, surprised. "Why would you ask that?" I shrugged, trying to keep my voice steady. "I don't know. You've been different." She laughed softly. "Well, I am getting older. Wrinkles come with personality, right?" I smiled weakly. She always did, that deflected with humor. But this time, I couldn't let it go. "I'm serious, Sabine." Her face shifted just slightly. The smile faded. Her eyes narrowed with concern. "Is something bothering you, ADL?" I opened my mouth to tell her everything. About the ring. About Daniel. About how I'd followed her to that cafe. But the words got stuck somewhere between my heart and my throat. Because part of me still hoped I was wrong. That maybe there was a rational explanation. That maybe, just maybe, this wasn't what I thought it was. So instead, I said the weakest thing possible. "I just miss how we used to be." Her face softened. She walked over and put her hand on my shoulder. "We're just in a phase," she said quietly. "Life gets busy, but we're okay." Her touch was warm, familiar, but all I could think was whose shoulder had she touched like this before coming home. That night, while she was asleep, I got out of bed again. And this time, I didn't just stare at her phone. I took it into the bathroom, locked the door, and tried every birthday, anniversary, and password I could think of. On the fifth try it opened. And there it was. A thread of messages with someone saved under the name Arcana Name. That meant nothing to me. But the tone, the way she wrote it, was all too familiar. "Miss you already. Can't stop thinking about today. I still have the ring. I keep it close." I scrolled, heart pounding. Some of the messages were older, from months ago. Others were recent, just 2 days back. She'd said she was at her writing group that day, but she was with him. Suddenly, I was gasping for breath. I put the phone down on the edge of the sink and stared at my reflection in the mirror. What was I supposed to do now? Was this love, or was this just comfort? Was I fighting to save a marriage she'd already abandoned? My heart said confront her, but my mind, it whispered, wait. Wait until you know everything. Because what if this wasn't just an affair? What if there was more? I thought I was prepared for the truth. I'd seen the messages. I knew about the ring. I'd watched her sit across from that man like they belonged in another life I was never invited into. But nothing prepared me for what I found next. It started with a name. R. Khan. That's what he was saved as in her phone. Not Daniel. It nagged at me. Why not save him as Daniel if that was the name engraved in the ring? Was he trying to hide? Or was she? So I did something I never thought I'd do. I used the contacts from her synced cloud account, something we set up together years ago to keep family photos safe. She didn't know I still had access. I searched through her email, her backup messages, her cloud drives, and buried in a folder named Writing Projects, I found something that turned my blood cold. It wasn't poetry. It wasn't a novel draft. It was a scanned certificate of marriage. Sabine. And a man named Raza Daniel Khan. Married. Legally. 6 years ago. I stared at the document for what felt like hours. Checked it again and again to make sure it wasn't fake. The names. The signatures. The dates. 6 years ago. She had married him while still married to me. This wasn't just an affair. This was a second life. I dropped my phone. I was shaking so hard I had to sit down on the floor of our bedroom. My chest hurt. My hands were numb. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't find my voice. Bigamy. That's what this was, isn't it? Not just cheating. Not just emotional betrayal. She was living 2 lives, legally tied to 2 men. I thought of our kids. Ion. Monor. What would they think? What would this do to them? And then a darker thought crept in. Did he know about me? Was I the hidden one? The lie? The background? I looked back at the certificate. His address was listed. A flat in a completely different part of the city and area. I'd never had any reason to visit. And suddenly, I couldn't stop myself. I grabbed my keys and drove. I didn't know what I was going to do. Confront him? Confirm the truth? Hit him? I just needed to see. It was a small apartment building. Modern. Quiet. Nothing fancy. I waited in my car for almost an hour, heart racing, until I saw him. Raza. Daniel. Whatever he called himself. He stepped out of the building wearing a navy blazer, talking on the phone, laughing. Not a care in the world. And then, behind him, Sabine, wearing the same shawl she wore when she left our house that morning. Her hair was down. She looked radiant. She reached for his hand. He held it. And just like that, everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. She wasn't cheating. She was married. To both of us. I waited until she got home that night. She walked in like she always did, dropping her keys in the bowl, slipping off her shoes, humming a soft tune under her breath. Like she hadn't just come back from the arms of another man. Another husband. Sabine, I said, standing in the hallway. She stopped. Her smile vanished. There was something in my voice she hadn't heard before. She turned slowly to face me. Yes? I held up my phone. The marriage certificate filled the screen. Her eyes flickered, but only for a moment. You weren't supposed to see that, she whispered. I wasn't supposed to? My voice cracked. You married someone else. 6 years ago, while still married to me. So Ben, what is this? She didn't speak. I took a step closer. Was I just a part of your cover story? A backup life? Her lips trembled. It's not what you think. No? I snapped. Because it looks like bigamy. It looks like you've been living 2 lives, lying to me, lying to him. Tell me I'm wrong. She leaned against the wall, eyes welling with tears. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. "It started as something small. I met him at a conference. He was kind, supportive. You and we weren't in a good place back then. That gives you the right to marry someone else?" My voice rose, echoing through the house. "I didn't plan on it," she cried. It just happened. And once it did, I didn't know how to undo it. I was scared, Adiel. I stared at her, heart pounding, mind reeling. "So you decided to just live both lives?" "I tried to leave him," she said, sobbing now. "But he wouldn't let me go. He threatened to expose me if I ended things. I thought if I kept it quiet, no one would get hurt." "No one would get hurt?" I repeated. "I'm destroyed, Sabine. You've torn this family apart." She stepped forward, pleading. "Please, please don't tell the kids. Don't ruin them because of my mistake." "Your mistake?" I said, my voice low, trembling. "This isn't a mistake. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This is betrayal. This is fraud. This is years of lies stacked on top of each other. I still love you," she said, tears streaming down her face. I never stopped. I shook my head. "You don't get to say that," I whispered. "You loved me? While holding another man's hand? While wearing his ring next to mine?" Silence. For a moment, the air between us felt so heavy it was hard to breathe. And then she said the one thing that shattered me completely. "I didn't marry you out of love," she whispered. "I married you out of pressure. My parents chose you, but with Raza, I got to choose for myself." Time stopped. The walls blurred. My knees almost buckled. She looked at me with guilt. Yes, but also with relief. Like she'd finally freed herself of the weight she'd been carrying. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Because what could I say to that? I had built a life on a lie. A lie she never intended to correct. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room, staring at the wall, her words echoing in my skull like a hammer to glass. "I didn't marry you out of love, eh?" How do you process something like that? How do you undo 15 years of memories of vacations, school pickups, birthday candles, late-night laughs all built on a foundation you didn't know was cracked from the start? She stayed upstairs. I don't know if she slept. I don't know if she cried. I didn't check. By morning, I had made my decision. I packed a small bag, kissed my children as they slept, and walked out the door without looking back. I needed space. Not just physical distance, but emotional oxygen. I needed to remember who I was before she became everything. I moved into a short-term apartment across town. Quiet. Bare walls. A place with no memories. The silence was strange at first. No morning chaos. No shared coffee mugs. No soft laughter from the kitchen. Just me and the sound of everything breaking inside me. Weeks passed. I filed for divorce. My lawyer called it the cleanest way forward, but there was nothing clean about it. Not emotionally. Not financially. Not for the kids. Sabine tried to reach out. At first through messages. Then through voice notes. Then, one day, she showed up at the building, waiting in the lobby with red eyes and a trembling voice. "I've left him," she said. "I told Raza, it's over. I want to fix things with you." I didn't even blink. "You didn't leave him because you wanted me," I said. "You left him because you lost control." Her face crumbled. "I still love you," she whispered. But it was too late for love. Love doesn't live in deception. Love doesn't split itself between addresses. Love doesn't make you feel like a backup option. And most of all, love doesn't make you question your worth every night for 6 years. So, I turned away. That night, I sat alone by the window of my new apartment, watching the city lights flicker like stars too stubborn to die out. And for the first time in months, I didn't cry. I breathed. Really breathed. Not the shallow kind you do when you're surviving, but the deep, full kind that fills your chest with life. I started writing again. Not just work emails or grocery lists, but stories. My own. Raw. Unfiltered. Pages of pain and reflection. Pages of healing. I found myself again in the words. And slowly, I began to live. I took the kids on weekends. We watched movies, made messy pancakes, and talked about nothing and everything. I didn't tell them the full story. Not yet. They didn't need to carry the weight of their mother's betrayal. One day, maybe, they'll ask. And when they do, I'll tell them the truth. Not to hurt them. Not to vilify her. But to show them that strength isn't in holding on to broken things, it's in knowing when to let go. A few weeks ago, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. But I knew the handwriting immediately. It was from Sabine. Inside was a photo. Us. From our wedding day. Young. Hopeful. Naive. On the back, she had written just 4 words. I'm sorry, I lied. I stared at it for a long time. And then I burned it. Not out of hate, but out of closure. That chapter of my life was over. Ash now. Memory. A lesson written in pain and ink. I still believe in love. I still believe in second chances. But not with her, and not at the cost of me. Because sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away.